Hello and welcome everybody back to the Pierce the Canvas podcast. This is Pierce once again. Today is February 10th, 2021. We got another AEW Dynamite in the books. Another awesome episode. Again, pretty much up and down the card here. As AEW loves to do is build new talent. So obviously we had certain parts of the show where there were some unfamiliar faces. Again, AEW is all about building up their new talent, so we got a little bit of that. We got some real good story development throughout the show. Great matches. Got no complaints really at all. Taking a look at this show here that I could think of right now. Last week, of course, was the beach break. The big NJPW breaking into AEW. We had Kenta at the end of the show come in to land a GTS onto Jon Moxley. So of course tonight's main event was set up to be Kenny Omega and Kenta versus Lance Archer and Jon Moxley. So we had the first official New Japan Pro Wrestling crossover match tonight, and it was a freaking awesome match, man. So let's get into this. That wasn't the only awesome thing. We also had a great opening match here between Darby Allin and Joey Janela for the TNT Championship. Well, the match wasn't like amazing. It probably wasn't quite to the caliber of matches they had in the past, probably like in GCW and other places. It wasn't very long. Clearly, they had a lot they wanted to fit on the show. It's probably about 10 minutes. One thing, obviously, that's kind of weird is the fact that Joey Janela is even challenging for the title, but I think it's already been like a couple months. It's been a while since Darby Allin has defended his title. I think the last match, it was against Brian Cage. So that was at least a month ago, probably over that. So they probably just had to get him in there with somebody, and they're just like, Joey Janela is easy to give a win to Allin over, so why not? So in the match early on, Janela dropped Allin face first onto the apron, kind of like suplex style, had him in a suplex position, dropped him face first onto the apron. Landed an elbow suicida. Both guys applied technical offense, shooting topes. That's pretty much how the match was going for the first 3 minutes. Joey Janela caught a coffin drop springboard into a German suplex. That was a really cool spot. At one point, the guys are trading near falls until Janela lands a pile driver on Allin for a near fall. See, that's something you would just never see or not to say anywhere else, but like in WWE, you just wouldn't see that because that's completely banned. But here, they just willy-nilly go and pile driving each other. Gotta be real careful with moves like that, but Allin knows what he's doing in there. Darby and Joey are up top at one point. Darby manages to land a top rope destroyer for a near fall. Of course, that couldn't be the finish, even though that was a pretty damn devastating move. But for the finish, we had a coffin drop from Darby Allin, and that got him the win. And that was actually pretty much it for that match. It didn't go very long. It was just kind of quick action, and then got right to the finish. Darby Allin coming on top and retains his TNT Championship. So next, the announcers tell us a little bit about how Kenta has officially knocked down the Forbidden Door, and that's how they were phrasing it throughout the show. Like, the Forbidden Door has been knocked down between AEW and NJPW. So clearly, they're trying to communicate to us that it's official. Like, we have a relationship between the two sides. That's going to bring a lot of really exciting stuff in the coming weeks. So Jon Moxley cuts a promo, and this is the first time on TV we've ever seen him with the IWGP United States Championship in hand. Oops, sorry about hitting the mic there. He says that Kenta's been calling him out from across the world. He's not surprised by what happened last week. John realizes Kenta's done with cheap talk. Both guys will fight one-on-one on February 26th. They never mentioned the show that it's going to be on, which is New Japan Strong. The match will be a war until one man can't stand. Tonight, John will team with a man who has tried killing him multiple times, Lance Archer, against two guys with a common interest. to take out Jon Moxley. So Sammy Guevara enters the inner circle locker room, asks for a minute with MJF alone, so the other members leave. Jericho wasn't in the room. I guess he was getting ready for the match coming up. He is teaming with MJF tonight. Sammy says, make sure the cameraman stays too. We need to catch all of this. Sammy watched last week, knows what MJF is doing, says that MJF is trying to take over the inner circle. MJF says that when he first entered the team, he thought Sammy was jealous because MJF became the new favorite. Originally it was Jericho and Sammy, and then the late sex gods and this and that. So, but MJF says that he thinks Sammy hates Jericho because he thinks that he himself should be front and center. MJF says that Sammy's upset because, in fact, he wants to take over the inner circle, which I don't think so, considering what happens later on. So after the heated conversation here, Sammy Guevara notices that MJF has been recording the call the entire time. He's like, yo, are you recording this call? And he takes his phone, he whips it full force at a wall, and he punches MJF in the stomach. And MJF is like, overselling it like crazy. Like the worst thing just happened to him. Meanwhile, it's just a punch in the stomach. But yeah, that's pretty crazy stuff, right? So that's like an official inner circle, inner battle happening now, like a real rivalry within the group at this point. So next match was Cody Rhodes and Lee Johnson versus Pretty Peter Avalon and Cesaro Minoni, who I don't believe we've seen on Dynamite. I've never seen him. Again, this is like a third or fourth week in a row I've missed Dark. I need to get back on watching that. So I personally haven't seen him before. I don't even remember seeing his nameplate, so I had to keep listening really closely for the announcers to say his name. I got Cesaro Minoni, I believe that is his name. And yeah, good. Definitely looks like a dominant wrestler. He's a tall, pretty muscular dude. So if he gets really good, he'll probably go places here in AEW. At first, not much happened in the match. During the commercial, Minoni landed a crazy overhead throw on Cody. Lee Johnson lands a neckbreaker on Avalon, lands a corkscrew springboard to the outside, lands a fisherman neckbreaker for a near fall. Lee Johnson reversed Avalon's finish and rolled him up for the win. So obviously, wasn't a very long match. This was mostly to showcase, again, like the new talent, Cesaro Minoni and Lee Johnson as well. In fact, this is Lee Johnson's first win in AEW, not in Dynamite. This guy's been on Dark every week losing. So this is his first win. So it's a big night for Lee Johnson. Tony Schiavone interviews him at the stage, and the rest of the Nightmare family comes out to celebrate the win. He asks Lee about his first win on TNT. Lee says that he wishes he had words to describe it. He was 0-29, but his trainers, Cody, Dustin, Arn, Brandy as well, showed him putting in the work pays off, and credits the whole Nightmare family for this win. So congrats to Lee Johnson. That was pretty cool. Next up, it's Dasha with the Young Bucks asking about MJF and Jericho earning a title opportunity. Asks them about getting eliminated from the Battle Royal last week. Young Bucks are blaming the Good Brothers for it because they showed up and distracted. I don't think they distracted Matt Jackson, though. I think he did get legitimately eliminated as far as I remember. But I remember Nick Jackson was distracted by their presence, and it costed him the elimination, or cost him the match, I should say. So Nick asks why the Good Brothers distracted the match. Young Bucks would have picked them if they won the match to challenge for the titles. The Good Brothers say that, we only have heat with Private Party right now. We didn't mean to interfere and cost you guys a match. Matt says that he doesn't want to wait to defend the titles. Says that he and Nick will put the titles on the line against Santana and Ortiz next week. So there you go. We're getting Santana and Ortiz versus Young Bucks. That's going to be freaking awesome. And it's definitely about time Santana and Ortiz get some spotlight, because they haven't really done anything. I can't remember the last time that they just tag team together in a match. And if they did anytime recently, it was probably just like an enhancement match of some sort. I don't really remember, which is a shame because they're one of the most talented tag teams in the whole company. So it's great that we're going to see them get a title match next week, even though frankly they're probably not even high on the rankings because they just haven't been doing much lately, as far as I know. But who cares, man? All I need is good wrestling, and that's going to be a great match. So next up, we got Dasha with Adam Page. Dasha asks about he and Matt. Asks if they're like officially a tag team. So Hangman's about to answer. I think he's about to say, no, no, I'm not on the team. He doesn't really get to say anything though because Matt just shows up immediately. Says that the two of them are special. They got a huge win last week. Matt is setting up an all-you-can-drink or something like that, like some kind of bar thing for him. Of course, Adam is game. He wouldn't want anything more than that. As Adam's leaving, the whole Dark Order is there, and they have an awkward encounter. The Dark Order are like, "Oh, we were just going this way," and Adam's like, "Oh, I'm just gonna go chill with Matt," and so they all move out of the way, and Adam heads to the bar. Next up was Pac with Ray Phoenix versus Ryan Nemeth. Ryan Nemeth is back. We got another week of Dolph Ziggler's brother. Um, of course, for these matches he's been in, he's just kind of an enhancement guy, but it's cool that they're giving him chances to show up on TV here. So, bit into the match, Pac heads up top and lands a shotgun dropkick. I didn't actually anticipate any selling for Pac. I thought he was just going to pretty much take him out and that's it. But Nemeth actually managed to land a pretty big spike DDT at one point. At another point, Pac is kicking the hell out of Nemeth, kind of just knocks him out, and he drags him over to the corner. Pac heads up top and lands a black arrow, and Nemeth was on his stomach. He wasn't even on his back like, they normally would be for receiving a top rope move. He was on the stomach, and Pac landed the black arrow and immediately locked in a brutalizer for the win. Thank you. What's your name? Ryan Nemeth. I'm sure I'll become more familiar with you eventually. Who knows? He'll probably. I've been thinking. Like, imagine if he becomes a bigger star than Dolph has ever been. Like, imagine if he becomes like AEW World Champion or something like 3 to 5 years from now. Who knows, man? We will see. Next up, we recap the wedding of Kip and Penelope from last week. Miro says he has a pleasure, or had the pleasure of hosting the wedding, until, of course, Charles locked his leg up and they ended up beating up Kip Sabian, knocked Penelope into the cake. Orange Cassidy popping out of the cake and, wreaking havoc after their wedding. Miro declares that he's coming after Orange Cassidy, as well as Charles, and will put them in the hospital alongside Trent. And then we cut to Orange Cassidy and Chuck Taylor, and Orange actually talked. I don't even think I keep calling him Charles. I don't even think Chuck said anything. But Orange was like, what did Miro think was going to happen? Like, basically saying, of course that was going to be in the cake, man. So words from Orange Cassidy. Dasha's with Jericho, interviewing him alongside Hager and Wardlow. MJF immediately comes in and tells Jericho about Sammy punching him. Jericho can't believe it. I guess he didn't see it. He's probably getting ready somewhere else for the match. So Jericho's just like, what? He punched you in the stomach? What are you talking about, man? And he's like, all right, well, you know what? We got a match to get to. And they did. They went up against the Acclaimed. And MJF is just like way overselling the punch from Sammy Guevara. Like, he's literally fully bandaged and everything, as if he took like a barbed wire bat to the stomach or something. And of course, the Acclaim making their entrance, they basically cut a promo every time. What I caught of it, they said that Jericho sucks like a mosquito, and I think it was Max Caster who eliminated Jericho. I don't remember. I'm still not too familiar with these two guys. I'm getting there. But yeah, basically they brag about how they got MJF eliminated from the Battle Royal last week, which did happen. And we have a little video package of MJF basically burying the Acclaimed. Says that they would have never had a chance because he opened the door for them. Apparently, who knows? I guess MJF is the reason the Acclaimed are around. Anthony Bowens lands a faceplant on MJF for a 2 count. MJF is holding a stretch on Caster at one point. When the ref isn't looking, when Aubrey Edwards isn't looking, MJF will grab Jericho's hand to add more pressure to the stretch. At one point, Aubrey sees it, and MJF is just still holding onto Jericho. So Aubrey kicks MJF's arm away from Jericho. It's always funny when she gets kind of physical to enforce the rules. Bowens lands a weird slam on MJF at one point. I don't even know what exactly it was. Jericho's going for a lion salt. Caster hits Jericho with his boombox. Bowens pins Jericho, but only a 2 count. I thought that would actually be it. I was like, damn, are they going to put the Acclaimed over here? Bowens headed up top, but Hager pushes him down. Jericho's able to land the Judas effect for the win. So MJF and Jericho win the match. Right after the match, Sammy comes out. Jericho asks, like, where have you been, dude? Like, you got here late. What's going on with MJF here? We gotta straighten this out. Sammy says that I told you point blank, Jericho, and I could back up Sammy. I was here to report this. On December 9th, 2020, he said that if anything happened with MJF, he's done with the Inner Circle. And he is still going by that at this point. He says, this guy's just been causing me bare trouble, so I'm done. Jericho asks, what do you mean? Sammy says he quits the Inner Circle and takes his leave. So Jericho and the Inner Circle are pretty upset there. Of course, Alex Marvez quickly chases down Sammy and asks him why he left the Inner Circle. Sammy says, you know what, man, I don't have time for this. I just need a break from this place, And so he takes off. And yeah, man, that's pretty crazy. So Sammy Guevara is officially broken out of the Inner Circle, and I guess he's going to just pursue his career as a singles now. And, that might be best for him. I think he'll do great. I think he'll, especially when fans come back, he's going to be a big baby face. So I think this is headed in the right direction, and of course, we'll probably be seeing him wrestle MJF. Who knows, maybe at Revolution or something. But yeah, Sammy's no longer in Inner Circle. So next we see Matt and Hangman in the bar. I think only Hangman is drunk, frankly. I don't think Matt is nearly as buzzed as Hangman. They're just telling jokes, laughing it off. Hangman and Matt... Matt says that he and Hangman are a great team. Matt says that he can make Hangman richer than he's ever been, and he pulls out a contract, as he said he wouldn't do for the last few weeks. He was like, oh, I'm not here for anything, but now out of nowhere, he pulls out a contract. Hangman Page is drunk as hell, so he's just saying yes to everything. It's crazy. Matt Hardy's asking for 30% of his income. Hangman says that Matt's right. So Matt Hardy pulls out a pen, and Hangman signs the contract. Just willy-nilly, doesn't give a crap, just signs the contract. He's drunk as hell. He doesn't know what's going on. So Matt says explicitly to the cameraman, I needed you here just in case Adam sobers up and, gets kind of angry about this. So Matt Hardy pretty much just tells us point blank that he got this guy drunk to get him to sign a contract, and he succeeded. So who knows how this guy's career is going to end up now, Hangman Page, giving 30% of his wage to Matt Hardy. Tony Schiavone interviews Sting ahead of his match with Allin against Team Taz. So another easy payday for Sting. Tony asks about going against Team Taz, and I swear, like, almost every time Tony asks this guy a question, he's immediately distracted by Taz. So we cut to Taz and Powerhouse Hobbs, and they're in an SUV, and they're talking about, we're gonna drag Darby to Team Taz, FTW World or something like that. And then they cut to a camera on Ricky Starks and who else is in Team Taz? Whoever else. And they're stuffing Darby Allin into a body bag. And not only are they stuffing Darby Allin into a body bag, oh, okay, I guess it was Ricky Starks and Hook. It was Taz's son. Not only are they stuffing him into a body bag, the body bag is tethered to the back of the SUV. And so Ricky and Hook get in the SUV and they start driving, man. And Darby's just dragging in the body bag behind the SUV. And so they cut back to Sting in the ring and he storms off and runs off to go save his son, Darby Allin. So yeah, who knows what happened to Darby? Frankly, he's probably dead. Alex Marvez finds Kenny Omega at a golf course. It's so funny, man. Like, Alex Marvez is like this teleportation journalist. He just ends up anywhere. Anytime he needs to ask some questions to somebody, he'll be wherever they're at. So you literally just see Kenny playing golf, and Alex Marvez just shows up. Kenny wants nothing to do with this guy. Tells him to, just hang tight and just watch my shot. So Kenny Omega takes a golf shot. Apparently he got like a hole in one. They're like, oh, I got it in or whatever. Marvez asks why Kenny's at a golf course, because this is taking place earlier today. So he's like, listen, tonight you have a big match alongside Kenta against Moxley and Archer. So Kenny says that he's the best of all time, doesn't need to huddle around the TVs to study his opponents. Says that, he's forgotten what it's like to lose at this point. I think he mentioned like the over 50 matches he had in AEW. He's just simply not going to lose. So after Kenny reveals that he got a hole in one there, Kenny gifts Marvez his golf ball, and Callis is like, yeah, he's going to sell that on his MySpace. And I laughed a bit at that. And then once Kenny and Callis are gone, Marvez is like, yo, by the way, I need a ride. And all I'm thinking is like, well, how did you get there? How did you get to this golf course? So next up was the women's match, appropriately at exactly 9:30, or probably 9:20. Layla Hirsch versus Thunder Rosa. This is the first match of the Women's World Championship Eliminator, the first bracket. Thunder says that her first piece of business is to win this tournament. Her second is to win back the NWA title from Serena Deeb. And third is to come back for Britt Baker, who she did get the win over Thunder Rosa. So in this match against Layla Hirsch, both women are matching each other with technical wrestling. Layla Hirsch is always just a sensation to watch. She's really good at this stuff. Hirsch lands a big top rope Rana into a tope on Rosa. Hirsch heads up top, attempts a moonsault, but lands on Thunder Rosa's knees. Rosa just gets a 2 count from that. Hirsch with a huge bicycle knee runs up top for another moonsault, but Thunder Rosa is able to move out of the way this time. She didn't learn her lesson the first time. Lands her own big knee for a 2 count. And then Thunder Rosa is able to land her driver finish for the win. Thunder Rosa moves on to round 2. And they let us know again that the Japanese matches will indeed be emanating from Japan. They are sanctioned by AEW, taking place in Japan, so it's going to be great checking out those matches. Next up, Shivani's with Jungle Boy. Last week, FTR kidnapped Marco Stunt. Tony let us know that Marco is okay. We got the update. But they didn't tell us like where he is or if he's still under held captive by FTR. We don't know like where the guy is. Jungle Boy tells Dax about the match they had a couple of weeks ago, or was it last week? Whatever it was. Says that he tapped him out in front of the world. Says that when he gets the opportunity, he's going to make Dax his bitch. So we got to hear Jungle Boy swear like a bad Jungle Boy. This brings us to the main event. Kenta and Kenny Omega versus Jon Moxley and Lance Archer. False Count Anywhere match. Kenta enters with his IWGP Heavyweight Challenger briefcase in hand. So basically, Kenta's been holding a briefcase for the last 5 or 6 months. Basically, as a interim champion for the U.S. title since Moxley hasn't been able to travel to Japan. And of course, he's cashing in the briefcase on February 26th when they have their official one-on-one match. So he came equipped with the briefcase. And of course, for Kenny Omega's entrance, there's a whole bunch of facts that Justin Roberts spewed out, including that he's been undefeated for. Really, it says that he's been undefeated for 529 days. I didn't even take that in when I wrote it down. That's a long time. He's won the last 10 matches across 4 promotions. Was voted for a WTF moment by Bleacher Report. And Don Callis, of course, joins on commentary for this match. So match starts. Kenta immediately knocks Moxley out with his briefcase and hits Lance Archer with it, who no-sells. Kenta and Kenny are fighting over beating up Moxley. Like, they're both, like, stomping on him, and then they start pushing each other like, no, I want to stomp on him. No, I want to stomp on him. Kenta and Mox begin trading shots and kicks, and Kenny and Archer went off to fight. Kenta attempts an early GTS, but Mox reverses, puts him in position for a paradigm shift. But Kenny gets back into the ring with a trash can, hits Moxley, and then sets the trash can over the ring post. And then he does his "You Can't Escape" moonsault with the garbage can in hand. And then he holds the garbage can in Moxley's face and has Kenta dropkick Moxley. Just brutal dropkick with the can right in Moxley's face. Lance enters the ring with a ladder, takes out Omega and Kenta, sets the ladder in the corner, throws Omega into it. Eventually the fight goes past the barricade. Kenta takes Peter Avalon. You know how Peter Avalon has like his bed or whatever set up in the crowd? So Kenta just takes Peter Avalon and hits him with a GTS. Lance Archer chokeslams Kenny over the barricade through Avalon's bed for a near fall. And it doesn't sound too bad, but the bed, like, it was like a thin mattress with like the frame underneath, and then underneath that is just concrete. So it was pretty brutal. He like went right through the frame. Moxley and Kenta fight all the way up to the arena kitchen. They start slamming each other into fridges and like stoves or whatever. Mox puts Kenta on the top of a steel kitchen table, but Kenta is able to reverse into a DDT on top of the table, begins to lock a crossface, and then out of nowhere we see a box of potatoes fly onto Kenta. That's Lance Archer throwing the potatoes. At Kenta, Kenny Omega whips a garbage bin at Archer, not a steel one, it was like a plastic one this time. Moxley starts hitting Kenny with a potato. Moxley and Omega head back into the arena. Moxley starts beating Omega with a kendo stick until he can reverse with a V-trigger. Omega V-triggers Mox onto a table, which is ringside. Archer and Kenta fight right by the announcers, who scurry away. You don't actually see that a lot in AEW, where they like fight right in front of the announcers. Lance is attempting a powerbomb onto the table. Kenta escapes. This was the coolest thing. So I don't know if you like before when I was mentioning that Moxley was V-triggered onto a table, so he was still there. Kenta escapes this powerbomb attempt by Lance Archer, jumps off the stage and double stomps Moxley through the table he was left on. It was a really, really cool spot. That one popped me. Archer and Omega are in the ring. Archer no-sells a kendo stick shot and breaks the kendo stick over his knee. Archer is able to land a choke slam, does his old school, like the Undertaker old school style, except he does a moonsault, and he did that for a near fall. Archer sets Omega for a blackout, but Good Brothers come out. Jake Roberts ain't having any of this. He lands a clothesline to Carl Anderson. Gallows takes out Jake Roberts. Don't worry, he didn't do too much. He just did like a little punch to the stomach. Apparently MJF can't take that too well, though. Omega attempts a V-trigger to Jake Roberts, the poor guy. But Moxley's able to come for the save with a barbed wire bat. Takes out every one of the heels, except for Kenta, who's able to land a GTS to Moxley. Good Brothers land a Magic Killer to Lance Archer. Omega lands a V-trigger, and is assisted by the Good Brothers to land a one-winged angel on Archer for the win. And after the match, we just see Kenta still beating up Jon Moxley, stands tall. And yeah, there we go. That was the first NJPW AEW crossover match that we ever got. It was pretty awesome. I really highly recommend watching this match if you don't plan on watching the rest of the episode. And yeah, we'll see how the future unfolds with this new partnership. It could only be freaking awesome, man. Like having, like Tanahashi. We could have, Bushi come through, Ishii, Suzuki, man. Oh my god. Like I think I said last week, it's like a wrestling candy store. It's just like, this is the best thing ever. So, only great stuff to come. Of course, again, in 16 days, we will see Moxley and Kenta have their one-on-one match for the U.S. title, which I gotta say, I think Moxley will have to drop the championship, especially because, he just can't be going back and forth between U.S. and Japan, at least for the next year. Not to mention he's having a kid too, right? So I think they're going to have to take the title off him. That's my prediction. We will see, and I will be back again next week on the 17th for the next episode of Dynamite. Thanks everybody for watching. Hope you enjoyed the show. Thanks for watching Pierce's Canvas Podcast. This is Pierce signing out. Take care, guys. See you next week.